3 months ago, I was doing something a lot of people in the US do without even thinking about it. I was making decent money, paying my bills, and still feeling broke by the end of every month. Not can't pay rent broke, more like where did all my money go broke. And that feeling was starting to mess with me. I'd get paid, feel relieved for a few hours, then watch the money disappear in tiny pieces. Coffee on the way to work, lunch because I was too tired to pack one, a few subscriptions I forgot I even had, a random Amazon order, a credit card payment that looked small until I realized it was covering the last credit card payment. It was never one giant mistake. It was 100 quiet little ones. That's what made it so frustrating. I wasn't living some crazy expensive lifestyle. I wasn't buying luxury cars or taking big vacations every month. I had a regular 9 to 5, a side hustle on the weekends, and a growing list of normal expenses that somehow kept growing too. Rent went up, groceries felt weirdly expensive. And every time I thought I had a little extra left, something ate it. One night, I sat at my kitchen table with a coffee and opened my bank app like I had done so many times before. But this time, I didn't just look at the balance. I looked at every transaction for the past month. That's when it hit me. I wasn't broke because I didn't make enough in one big way. I was broke because I was leaking money in small, everyday ways. So I did something simple. I started tracking every dollar, not in a complicated spreadsheet, not with some extreme budget that made my life miserable, just a basic note on my phone. Every time I spent money, I wrote it down. Coffee, Uber, app subscription, takeout, Target run. It felt annoying at first. Honestly, it felt a little embarrassing too. Because once the numbers were all in one place, my spending looked different. Not evil, not stupid, just automatic. And automatic spending is dangerous because it feels harmless. The $6 coffee doesn't feel like much. The $12 lunch doesn't feel like much. The $15 streaming subscription doesn't feel like much. The $40 weekly treat yourself stop doesn't feel like much. But together, those tiny choices can eat a chunk of the money you thought you had left. That was the part I had missed for years. After a week of tracking, I noticed a pattern. I wasn't spending money on things I loved. I was spending money on things that filled gaps. Stress, boredom, convenience, the feeling of being busy, the feeling of being rewarded after a hard day. In other words, a lot of my spending had nothing to do with need and everything to do with emotion. That's when the story started to change. Because once I could see the pattern, I could finally interrupt it. I didn't cut everything. That would have failed in 3 days. I kept the things that actually made my life better. I kept my gym membership. I kept one streaming service. I kept going out with friends sometimes. But I got honest about the stuff that was just draining my account quietly. I started making coffee at home most mornings. I reviewed my subscriptions and canceled the ones I barely used. I stopped treating every small expense like it didn't matter. And that's where the mental shift happened. Because the goal wasn't to become perfect. The goal was to become aware. Once I saw where my money was going, I stopped feeling like my finances were controlling me. I started making choices on purpose. That felt way better than trying to be good with money through guilt and willpower alone. It also made me realize something bigger. A lot of people think they have an income problem when they really have an attention problem. If you never look closely, your money will always seem to vanish. But if you track it, even for just 30 days, the truth shows up fast. You might find out your rent is fine, but your daily spending is the real problem. You might find out your side hustle income is being wiped out by little convenience purchases. You might find out that lifestyle creep has been sneaking in every time you got a raise. That was my experience. Every time I made a little more, my life got a little more expensive. A nicer meal here, a faster delivery there, a few more subscriptions, I deserve this purchase after a rough week. None of it looked dramatic, but together, it kept me stuck. The weirdest part is that I didn't suddenly become rich after tracking my money. That's not what happened. What happened was better. I became calm. I stopped guessing. I stopped checking my balance with dread. I stopped pretending small expenses were invisible. And for the first time in a long time, I could see a path forward. I even started building a tiny buffer. Not a 6-month emergency fund overnight, just a small cushion so one flat tire or medical bill wouldn't throw everything off. That buffer made everyday life feel less shaky. It gave me breathing room, and breathing room changes how you live. If you've been feeling like your paycheck disappears too fast, I want you to know you're probably not alone and you're probably not failing. For most people, money stress is a series of small habits, not one big disaster. That means it can also be changed one small habit at a time. Start by watching your own money for a month. No judgment, no shame, just notice. You don't need to be a finance expert. You just need to be honest. Because once you can see the pattern, you can change the pattern. And that was the moment I stopped asking, why am I always broke? I started asking, what is my money actually doing for me?